Welcome to the Cemetery Gates podcast featuring Xander and Android Virus. Hey guys, welcome back to the Cemetery Gates podcast, starring me, Mr. Android Virus, and my illustrious co-host, Mr. Xander Kane.
Hey, that's me. What's up, everybody?
And we got a special guest on for the night, because we talked about this last show. We're going to kind of like maybe pepper in, every few shows or so, like a nice female perspective, if we can get one. I don't know.
Yeah.
So we got Miss Heather Powell. How you doing?
Hey, Android. Happy to be here and happy to be the first female on your show.
Yes, well, I do another podcast with Miss Heather on It's Not Horror Okay. And I know I talked to Xander about how you're kind of a newbie to the podcast world.
Yeah, it's been a year now, actually. I was just a listener, and I remember thinking, man, I could never do that. And now... And now I'm on a whole bunch of shows, and my regular show, well, I have two regular shows, but I do a serious one, and it's actually really picked up a lot of followers, which I never thought would happen. So yeah, it's been crazy.
What shows do you do?
Well, I do It's Not Horror Okay with Android and a couple other podcasting partners in crime, so Venom, Nudie, and Scott Crawford. And Scott Crawford and I do a podcast called the Friday Nightmares Podcast, where we talk about new movie watches and we choose themes. So, for example, our last theme was cannibal films.
Oh.
And we talked about cannibalism in film, the reality, the fantasy, and just how it's been portrayed. So we don't do movie reviews. We do things a little bit differently. It's a lot of fun.
Cool.
And what's your serious one?
That's a serious one. You're so funny. It's not horror. That's our serious one.
No, don't.
Funny, huh?
Don't listen to It's Not Horror. And if you anybody out there that listens to the Cemetery Gates podcast, you have a completely different personality of mine on that show.
Like, imagine Two-Face. And that's who you have. I listen to this show and I'm like, Android?
Yeah. Kind of making me feel like the den mother that keeps you
Well, it's a good job. I don't know how you manage to do it. Like,
it's pretty stressful. It's the reason why I only do one podcast now. So.
He's a full-time job.
He is
probably one of the funniest, nicest people I've had a chance to work with. I'm actually quite sad that we haven't been able to hang out in person, but one day when borders are open, because I live in Canada.
Yeah. We're not allowed up there.
You know,
for good damn
reason.
reason.
Yeah.
For good reason, we're not allowed up there.
Yeah, there's some reasons. I do plan on coming down there and having some of Android's green chilies.
Ooh, he used to make up a batch and send it to me all the time, and then kind of stopped.
On the spot.
I did. There we go.
So Heather, I can still make it, but I make an awesome like green chili salsa. And I would jar it up and I would send it to people, and Xander used to get some. I just haven't made it in such a long time. Yeah. And
used to like wrap it in like a cool t-shirt for me. Like, I got a shirt and some green chilies.
But that's because he has 16 billion kids now and a bunch of dogs and grandkids, and he's too busy just living his best life.
He did send me a giant thing of salsa, so he did get redeemed. I still have a little bit left.
Yeah, so you don't need any X-Lax. You just eat that salsa. You're good to go.
That's my favorite salsa to give people, because like they'll come over and start eating a few chips, and like my buddy just started sweating while he was sitting there. He like took off his hat. He's like, "Woo!" I'm like, "Ha ha! You gotcha. Finally did it." He goes, "No, it's really good." I was like, "No, it is good, but it does get you."
Yeah, it's a creeper. That's what they call it, right, Heather? Do you know creeper, the term?
What? Never heard of that. I know Heather, you, Android, of course.
Yeah, the creeper. And yeah, Dave, Xander, you know creeper, the creeper. You know.
Yeah. Of course.
Creeps up
Now,
on
do
you.
you mean Jeepers Creepers?
No.
That creep, or the director of Jeepers Creepers?
Ooh. Ugh. Yeah, he's no good. So, my dog. Remember we talked about my dog having an appointment today. So one dog got his claw. They completely removed it, but it'll grow back.
Dew claw or
no, his pinky claw was just hanging off, and it just wouldn't let go, and it was just constantly bleeding, and then it was growing a new claw underneath. So the doctor just had to take them all off, and he's good. He'll be all right. And then Bruce, my main dog, he's gonna have to get biopsies done because, like, on his little genital region, he's got like all these growths going. They started at little skin tags, and about like 2 months later, they're like the size of a black jelly bean. Oh. So yeah, we gotta. So he said, yeah, man, you're gonna want to get those biopsied, and we'll remove them, and get them to the pathologist to make sure they're not cancerous. But sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. And he goes, so we're gonna have to go through that whole thing. So
yeah,
that's stressful.
Yeah, that's all right, man. They're good dudes. They felt a little violated because the old thermometer trick that the
they don't like it.
Nah, well, Darby was.
It's like instant betrayal, right? Everything's cool. We're having like pets and we're wagging tails. They're giving me cream cheese or peanut butter, and then all of a sudden you slide a fucking thermometer where the sun don't shine.
Yeah,
it's a little betraying.
Darby was all for it. Bruce he was, but he's
more adventurous, right? He's looking to try new things.
Yes. He's like, oh, we're playing this game now. But Bruce, not so much. He felt betrayed by the doctor, like you said. So. Yeah, so they're going to be all right. Puppies will be all right. So this is an international podcast for everybody out there. Heather's in Canada. Mr. Xander Kane is somewhere in the hot, deep south. Would it be?
That's a big space.
I'm in Atlanta.
Yeah, and I'm in New Mexico. So we're international podcast here. So, Mr. Xander, what have you been watching, bro?
What have I been watching? Well, I'm actually pulling it. Besides these movies, I've watched a bunch of stuff. So I watched a really cool sci-fi flick on, I think it's on Hulu, or maybe it's Amazon Prime. I can't remember. Called The Vast of Night.
Okay.
And it's just this really cool sci-fi flick that it's really kind of a love letter to the old, like, science fiction radio shows, like from the 30s, 40s, 50s, and through there, where they do the big old like theatrical radio shows, and think like the World of Worlds type, the radio broadcast of that, and it's just like a complete love letter to that entire period of time, and it even kind of plays out like it, like they used like radios and stuff, like there's scenes just where it's just like people over the radio. It was just really cool and different. I mean, like, it'll probably bore some people to death, but I actually love those old radio shows. So like, to me, it was like super fucking cool, and it just looked really awesome, and I appreciated all the effort put into it. Really cool flick for sure. Highly recommended.
Well, I like those old radio shows too. I mean, like the old they used to do like Flash Gordon, War of the Worlds, all kinds of fun shit on those shows, man.
Yeah, and then I also watched a fucking weird ass 80s shot on video vampire flick called A Polish Vampire in Burbank.
Oh man.
Which is zero chances we're not going to cover this on the show at some point.
Top notch for us.
It is so fucking stupid and idiotic, but you can't help but laugh the whole way through. Like, it doesn't take itself seriously. Like, it's just being completely fucking silly and asinine. But man, it was worth the price of admission. It is destined to be on this show. I just don't know when.
There you go. Well, yeah, we Heather, we watched the best of the best on this show. I'm just
I know, I've been listening to all your episodes, Munchies. That was probably one of my favorite reviews.
That Las Vegas serial killer of the top two.
Oh God, dude.
That's wild. And then I watched it. This is real quick, and then I'll be done. I'll quit running a hammer. Animus on Netflix, which is another sci-fi flick, which hands down visually is quite stunning. All the shots are framed up very much like a Del Toro movie. He uses color palettes a lot. Like, there's a lot going on visually, and it's really cool. The story kind of lost me a few times and got a little slow, but I was so like visually intrigued by the whole thing. I just absolutely adored it. Has an awesome poster too. That's an Amazon or a Netflix exclusive called Animus. It's an Argentinian film, and it's fantastic.
Animus. So it's you got to read it, or was it in the subs?
You got subs, you know.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry. Yeah. So the subs. Cool.
I don't think it's dubbed. There might be a shitty dub you could listen to if you want, but you know.
Who wants to do that? We want the original language.
Only in old Italian giallos do we want shitty subtitles.
That's right. Right. Have you dived into giallos, Heather?
No, I don't think so. I've been kind of saving myself for that, but I feel like it needs to happen.
Yeah.
Because everyone refers to it. And I feel like I understand the genre from an outside perspective. And I probably watch one. Or is Sweet Alice similar to a giallo? Or no? Like, I don't know. I've been told that it was.
Loosely.
A little bit, yeah. I would say I could see some similarities there, but
so
it's not a true through and through. Yeah.
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 Like, you need to get into the, some... Like the Tenebrae and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Don't torture a duckling.
Yeah. I think opera's brilliant too.
Oh, opera is something I would want to check out actually, because that's basically
fucking,
Phantom of the Opera, right? Only it's a little bit.
It's freaking awesome.
Okay.
So
yeah. All right.
I would start there.
Awesome. Thank you.
You already got 1 foot in there on that one. I'd go ahead and get right in.
All right. Excellent.
Might as well. So, what have you been watching? Other than the movies that we assigned you, Miss Heather, have you just kind of been checking anything out on your own, or is it just...
Yeah. This year I've done a full first-time watch. So I don't watch any movie that I've seen before, unless it's for a podcast. So I have almost 200 new watches from anything outside of 2020 horror-wise. And then I've been watching... I'm at 107 2020 movies now.
Nice.
Whoa.
So, yeah. So probably like the most recent ones I've seen is I saw The Pool on Shudder. It's a Thai film. I'm not sure if you gentlemen have heard of it.
Yeah, there's like crocodile or some stuff going on.
Yeah, basically sums it up. There's a crocodile in a pool. You kind of got the whole base to the plot there. And of course, there's a lot of, exaggerated events that occur to push the movie along, but it's entertaining. Right. If you enjoy creature features and you want something that's light and fluffy, I totally recommend it. Another movie I really enjoyed that I watched is a movie called Alive, and this was a film festival film that's getting out there now, and I think you can rent it right now in the States, and it's worth it. Basically, 2 people wake up in this quote-unquote hospital, and they're covered, they're bloody, and there's a quote-unquote doctor attending to them. They don't know who they are, and this doctor is a complete psychopath. And it just goes from there. 88 minutes, but it feels like it's 15 minutes.
Cool.
Because it just moves so quickly. And finally, what's another good one that I saw that I think would make sense? I'm trying to think of something that I think Android would like.
Something that jumps out to you.
Well, also, I want to find... Oh, Aqua Splash. This reminds me of Android. It's something that will probably end up on Android Vision at some point. So this one is based in a water park. High school graduation water park. Even though all these high school kids are doing cocaine, which on my podcast, I'm like, these kids all have enough money to afford all the cocaine they're getting.
Oh, you didn't grow up in the neighborhood I did, Heather.
Clearly. I just grew up in the wrong neighborhood.
That's right.
Those trust fund babies are the kings of cocaine.
Obviously, they were ripping it up at this like cheap, shitty water park. But it's a slasher, but it follows very much an 80s formula. And some people have loved it, some people have hated it. But I think Android will dig it and will one day show it on other podcasts or shows that he does, because the third act is mint. So worth the rental. It's a fun summer movie. Not a lot to think about.
It's mindless fun.
Lots of good-looking young people walking around and not a lot of clothing, so it's enjoyable for that too.
Well, there you go.
There you have it, man. That's good, nice list to make up. There you go.
You better get on that, Android. I'm going to quiz you next time we do a podcast together.
I should. Yes, make sure you send me that list because I will watch those. I guess I always get the luxury of rewatching shit because I'm always re-editing old Android Vision episodes. And so over the last couple weeks before, since we recorded last, Xander, I've got to see. As a matter of fact, this last Friday I rewatched The Being, 1983's The Being. It's just a nice creature feature, fucking drive-in movie theater trashy movie. It's beautiful. I love The Being, and it's just your basic fodder of, toxic waste getting into the water system, and some ladies, maybe possibly abducted baby, drank too much of the water and is a cyclops. I don't know, but it's a great fucking movie, and there's a lot of death. I don't know if any of you guys have seen The Being, but it's fucking phenomenal. I love it.
There's a good chance.
It's such a fun, just so many weird moments in those movies where you almost got the town folk to be background actors and maybe even give them a few lines, so they come off very awkward. But so that's fun. And I was also able to check out, I think it's 1977's Night of the Demon. So not to be confused with Night of the Demons.
This the Bigfoot one?
Yes, sir.
This movie fucking rules. Code Red put it out years ago, and I have an actual DVD of it. I don't know if anybody's got the rights to that flick right now, but that is a choice watch.
It is so good, Heather. It's about a fucking Bigfoot that is really pissed because he got a taste of some human lady, I guess you could say, in the bed, if you know what I mean. They made
some love.
He made some love with a human, and he got a taste of the sun, as they say.
Oh, wow! You got a taste, you can't go back.
Exactly, and he is on the effervescent search for that feeling again. And
so aren't we all?
Yes, and anybody who gets in his way, and you got the scalpel slashing, arm ripping, sleeping bag swinging,
boy.
Dick ripping.
That is actually the cover of the DVD. Is the guy in the leather jacket holding his bloody hands over his crotch, wincing in pain, and it just says "Night of the Demon" behind it.
There you go. So that's a lovely movie for everybody to check out, Heather. And if you ever want to get into some weird fucking drive-in, just creature feature trash movies, The Being and Blue and Night of the Demon would be up there. And I do got another one, and this is really fun. I got to give a shout out to Alyssa. She's my new Android Vision mail girl. Awesome chick. Her and my buddy Chris Boytson, we were filming an episode of Android Vision months ago, probably maybe February, around that time. But I got called out, and this is going to be really surprising to you, Xander. I never, ever, 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 ever for the life of me have ever seen a David Lynch film.
None of them. And they just started rattling down the list, and I'm like, nope. I've just never seen these. And then they're like, all right. So she called me out, Alyssa, and she goes, hey, when are you going to get on that David Lynch tip? And I said, shoot me a movie. So I was able to watch Blue Velvet, finally. Ooh, with Dennis Hopper, yeah?
Yes.
God damn. That's a good one, man.
It is great. And is it horror? Kind of, yeah. I'll kind of... It's just a weird fucking movie. It's David Lynch. I guess he's got his own style.
That's his thing.
Yeah. So...
The weirder the better, right?
Yeah. So I'll be diving into more David Lynch shit. So there you have
it. Yeah, if you want a super mindfuck, watch Lost Highway.
All right. I'm on it.
Up there for sure. You haven't seen any of the Twin Peaks stuff that he did?
Never.
All right. I thought for sure you would have done Twin Peaks.
Nope. X-Files. I love X-Files. I think I've even mentioned to Heather in the past that X-Files stopped being as good as it was, even though I love X-Files, when it left Canada.
See, that's what happens. Don't leave Canada.
Mm-mm.
Wow.
I haven't seen Twin Peaks either. Just so we're clear, I haven't watched one episode of Twin Peaks as well.
It's slow, and I think it was more of the time. it was much more. I think a lot of people would watch it now.
A lot
Maybe
of
not be
people like
into
it. It's popular.
It's a slow burn, but man, I think the payoff's worth it, personally. So,
well, I'll have to check it out. Wasn't there a return to the Twin Peaks shit?
yeah, I chose not to go back and watch that. Like, let's leave it be.
Just let it alone. There you go.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and do a second chances segment, and for any new listeners out there, and Heather's new to the show as well. What we go ahead and do is we talk about a movie that we may have seen before, and that we have seen before, and either we've reviewed it before or we've seen it separately, independently, and we just didn't think it was that great. So we give it a second chance. You know, we say, okay, let's watch this with a new set of eyes, a new set of goggles, so to speak. So, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and talk about Night of the Comet, and we'll.
And now it's time for Second Chances here on the Cemetery Gates podcast.
Did you ever wonder what it would be like to be one of the last people on Earth?
We're talking ghost town!
Who would you see?
There's nobody. There's nobody.
What would you do?
Hey, I'm sorry if the end of the world makes me a little nervous.
Where would you go?
The stars are open!
Well, get ready to find out, because the comet is coming into your orbit.
The legal drinking age is now 10, but you will need ID. Let's be real.
It's the Night of the Comet.
What do you give me if I come back?
Texas?
Night of the Comet.
I'll be taking requests from all you teenage comet zombies.
The night the teenagers ruled the world.
Yeah!
Night of the Comet.
The burden of civilization is on us.
Fiction, isn't it?
All right, guys. So second chances, and before we start, I just want to say R.I.P. Mr. John Saxon. So forgot to lead the show. Yeah, I forgot to lead the show off with that.
Kudos, Mr. Saxon. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for your service, sir. You were the hero cop in my life when you tried to get Freddy Krueger. So there you go.
And he was in Black Christmas, I believe, wasn't he?
He was in everything. 1974? He was in everything. Yeah, he was.
He was a cop in about 90 different movies.
Yeah, I think he was the cop in Black Christmas.
Yeah. I love John Saxon. I love the story of John Saxon when they talked about he would show up to the set.
He was the cop in Black Christmas 1974. I was right.
So
here you go.
I loved how they said when he would show up to the set, he had a separate suitcase with all of his toupees in them. Would you like this toupee? Would you like this toupee? Would you like this toupee? Would you like this style? So there you go. All right, guys. So we're going to talk about our second chances pick, and we had Heather watch this for the first time. So this is going to be a little bit of a different dynamic because we're getting also a fresh perspective, which is really cool because that's the idea behind having the third wheel on.
Yeah. And honestly, we couldn't have picked probably a better movie, honestly.
Right.
Have so for sure.
So 1984's Night of the Comet. So have at it. Let her rip, Mr. Xander Kane.
Yeah, so Night of the Comet is one of those flicks that a lot of people really, really, really love. And I guess about 6 or 7 years ago, probably, I watched it for the first time. And I just didn't care for it at all. I just thought it was kind of boring, but it was also on one of those movie watching binges, and it was like the last one I watched. So sometimes, depending on how much booze I've had leading up to that point, I tend to fade out of focus. So sometimes I need to revisit things, and this was one of them. So the whole idea of Night of the Comet is a comet. There's a big hubbub all over the news about how this comet's going to come to town, and everybody's like having these giant events so they can all watch the comet outside. And of course, it's not the pretty visual thing that everybody's anticipating. It winds up wiping out like most of humanity, unless you were sleeping like in a steel like
Yeah, I
building
think it was
or
like if you were
truck
in a house, or because they were in a house, a movie theater,
and
and the
the
guy that
trucker.
managed to be in the truck survived as well. So I think you're
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So if you were in some kind of coverage, I guess
Yeah.
you were fine.
So this all takes place in like Southern California. But it just goes on. It's about the sisters that are trying to figure out what the hell's going on. They run in contact with people here and there. And the people that they do run in with are like these kind of zombies.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, they seem like zombies.
Yeah, they talk, and they come after them and kill them. And they got like oozy flesh hands and all this and that. But like going back and rewatching the movie, my opinion actually greatly changed on it. I didn't necessarily love it as some of my other friends would put it in their like top 10 movies of all time, or horror movies of all time. They absolutely love it. But what it gives us at this particular time, which was 1984, and in the horror genre, we didn't have too many female-led movies. Mm-hmm. And Night of the Comet is led by 2 females, and they're relatively smart, strong characters, and it's all about them just surviving in an impossible situation. And I kind of see that why a lot of people really kind of gravitated toward that at the time. So how I do appreciate it a lot more on the second viewing. I still didn't like love it. It's still a little slow, but it does have that. It has all the 80s charm you could possibly want, though. Like, it's got the cheesy music, it's got the hair, it's got, all those little
video
things.
Arcade game that she keeps playing excessively. I don't even know what game that was.
It's not Asteroids. It's I think it's called Phalnix. Like,
is that what it is?
Phalnax. It's a weird name, something to that effect. I think is what the game is. Because I thought it was Asteroids at first too, but it's totally not Asteroids. So.
Yeah, for me personally, I'd seen it, like you said, kind of late at night. I think, man, I'd seen it with like, I mean, I'll just put it to you this way, like, stoned, laying in bed, just having sex with an ex-girlfriend and eating some pizza or ramen noodles, just watching Night of the Comet while it's on TV, like a late at night thing. And then I think, like, again, HDNet, that was like an old direct TV channel that used to be around for a while. I remember seeing that kind of like late at night as well. And I always remember catching Night of the Comet. And I like the premise of it. I think it's, like you said, strong female leads. I don't mind that. I like some of the schlock in it. I know that there's some posters in it and, different things that pay homage to other movies. And while I do all around appreciate the quote unquote, maybe political, I don't know, whatever you want to call it about the movie, because it's kind of like, it does have that throwback, not that throwback, but that feeling of like, Cold War-ish type of thing. And I do certainly appreciate that and appreciate where the filmmakers are going with it. I just find that there's a lot of lulls in it, if you know what I mean. It's very lully. Like it just doesn't, the pacing of it's a little bit off to me. While I do love the 80s aesthetic of it, the neon, the music, the clothes, the hair, all that fun stuff, the Free Neely, the one of the main female lead, how she's like pretty much like, well, there's one time I thought I was pregnant, and that was like the worst 2 weeks of my life. I'm like,
was that Kelly Maroney?
Yeah, I'm like, God damn, I fucking love this I love this chick. And then I love the beginning, how she fights her stepmom. That's pretty funny. And she has a great one-liner. She's like, well, she goes, if you wanted an asshole, like, or something, I forget the line, something about an asshole, but, so I did appreciate that aspect of it. And it kind of had like that weird Day of the Dead-ish feel to it, where it's like this weird Cold War-y type of feel. But, yeah, man, I mean, for me, it was okay. I don't foresee myself buying this on Blu-ray, just like I bought on Blu-ray for my first. I just bought like Sleepaway Camp. It's not like a crazy classic like that to me. Yeah. I appreciate it. Right, Blood Rage, fucking The Mutilator, all that fun shit. Like, it's not up there with me. I appreciate it. I can see how people like it, but it just doesn't quite do it for me. And I would give it like a solid like 2.5 out of 5. Yeah. It's just it's there, but I appreciate it.
I think before I probably would have given it like a 1.5 probably.
Oh.
So to move it up to like it's closer to 2.5 for me is it's a good move. It's the reason why I like to go back and revisit this stuff. It's always good to see with a different eye.
Absolutely. All right. What about you, Heather?
Well, yeah, I think you guys hit it up pretty well. This is a chick flick. The moment I got first 15 minutes in, I'm like, oh, fuck, Android. What did he make me watch? And then I was like, oh, you know what? Yeah, some girl power shit going on here. I dig it. I enjoyed the concept of, I guess, people turn into zombies, but they slowly decay till eventually they're powder.
Right.
I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like it's a slow decline. I did enjoy the dialogue between the two sisters, and I thought at one point where they went to the radio station, I actually thought there was a strip club. Just because of how the pouches...
right?
Yeah, right? I was like, oh, they're staying in a strip club. Yeah, it makes sense.
And the DJ booth is in like a weird spot in this building. You're like, all right, like...
I've been to one or two in your time.
Destiny, stage 1, Destiny, you're up. What's another one besides Destiny? That's like my go-to.
Harmony.
Crystal. Harmony, stage 2,
Harmony.
you're up. All right, fellas, you're out there. Let's get them dollars ready,
Yeah, like it was, and the dudes were great. Like all the characters were likable, and the girls weren't too over the top. What I liked about this is that they were strong women without having to be like, in every scene making it known they're strong women. They just were.
Yeah,
they just
it wasn't
handled their
beating you over the
shit.
head with it at all.
Exactly, right? And yeah, like it kind of seemed like almost like a female version of trying to adapt between like They Live and Escape from New York, like a very like loosey friendly female film of it, in the sense of these two chicks just trying to kick ass and survive. And I thought the government experiment people were cool, and the mall scene was probably not super necessary but fun. And the ending was cute. I would agree though. I wouldn't put this as like one of my top horror films of all time. Like it's nowhere near that, but it definitely was a fun bubblegum watch and captured the 80s perfectly.
Yeah.
And I hope no one remakes this because they'll put some kind of crazy female like super powered chick into this, and it's
they'll put like Laura Croft in Night of the Comet, essentially.
And everything will be about feminism and stuff. And don't get me wrong, I am about feminism. I consider myself a feminist. But like this movie was just perfect. It was just perfect for the time. It's fun to watch now.
Well, yeah, because it's like feminism, like back then, was also about being vulnerable, and it didn't mean that you have to be like, I mean, no offense to anybody, but like this crazy chick who shaves her head and wears knee-high rainbow socks, right? Like these chicks were like, I like dick, I like dudes, and I'm a fucking badass, so fuck you. You know what I mean?
So, and they were dressed pretty. They weren't dressed so super conservative. Like the one girl showed a little bit of skin, but they didn't get like half naked to run around. Like which would have been great for some people watching the film. But I think it was perfect. They were good-looking chicks. The guys were everyone was tolerable, and you disliked the antagonists. Like everyone played their role well. But I do not think this is a top horror movie of all time. I would agree with a 2.5 out of 5 rating. I think that's fair.
Yeah, it is worth noting that Kelly Maroney. This is kind of the predecessor. I don't know if this set her up to get I'm sure it had something to do with her getting the role in Chopping Mall. And in Chopping Mall, she plays a very strong female lead there too. She kind of saves the day in Chopping Mall.
Yeah,
that's right. She does. Yeah,
the blonde girl. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was good to see her. I like her. I like Kelly Maroney.
Yeah, I liked her too. She was really palatable. Like she was easy to watch, easy to like. She was funny. Like the lines, you're right. There were some funny lines that were delivered. It was decent.
But yeah, I think one of my favorite interactions in the whole movie though was when the older sister is sleeping with the guy at the movie theater, and she's like, "Just as long as we're clear, I'm not having sex for the $15. You're not paying me for sex." Like she owes him. I missed the part where he owes her $15 for something, and they had to like keep having the conversation about, no, I didn't pay you for sex.
Or he's like, I would pay you more. You're worth more. I thought that was fucking funny. Like I enjoyed that. Like, and you couldn't get away with that now, right? Like someone would get upset. And as a female, I didn't find that offensive. I thought it was funny, and I thought it was a real conversation. Like you would end up having a conversation with a dude that you were banging like that. Like that's just reality, right?
Right.
Well, and keep in mind, like that guy was played by I mean, this guy's like been all Michael Bowen, and I don't know if you guys recognize him, but this guy's been, he's been he's been in everything from. Okay, so this is weird. He's a Carradine. A lot of people don't know that. Like, the Christopher Carradine, Robert Carradine, Keith Carradine.
John.
all those guys. But Michael Bowen, he has been in everything from. He was in the original Valley Girl. I don't know if anybody's seen that. Yeah, he's all over. He's one of the guys in Breaking Bad. He was in Django. All Cheerleaders Must Die. He was in Kill Bill. I'm Buck and I like to fuck. That guy.
Yeah, he clearly Tarantino likes him a lot. Obviously.
Yeah,
he's been 4 Tarantino flicks.
Yeah, he's a great character actor, man. That guy needs more love. So, yeah, man. Great reviews on that, guys. I enjoyed it. So kind of. It's a movie that I'd have to kind of lay in the room and turn the lights out and watch it because I think I would lose my concentration.
Yeah, I think if it was on TV and I was bored and there was nothing else to do, I probably would watch it.
Right.
Like, it's one of those films that if I came across, I'd be like, oh, Night of the Comet, easy, simple watch.
Yeah, or like,
not going to take a lot of brain power.
Yeah, where's the remote? I don't know. I guess I'll watch it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I could get up or I could just sit here. That's probably what would happen.
All right, guys, that's Second Chances.
And that was Second Chances here on the Cemetery Gates podcast.
All right, guys, thanks for that Second Chances segment. Yeah, good deal, man. Night of the Comet, not too bad. So, we're gonna shoot straight into the next movie that I picked, and I know I've seen it a million times. I know Mr. Xander Kane has seen it a million times. And we wanted Heather to see it for her first time. And this is something I particularly wanted Heather to see is because I wanted it as a notch in her belt. I wanted this Italian zombie genre notch in her belt. And she's going to build that fucking notch in her belt like Ed Gein builds, nipple fucking belts.
Yeah, and so it's also kind of a notorious film. Like, it tends to be one people love or hate. There doesn't typically a in between very often. I'm sure there is, but not very often.
So 1981's Burial Ground. That's right, guys. Skeletal ghouls greet visitors at the mansion of a professor studying ancient Etruscans. I guess that's what they're called, but. Yeah, so basically you got these people, a group of people who show up to a mansion, who for some reason right away just want to fuck.
A lot.
Yeah,
a lot. Well,
anywhere. In the garden, in the bed.
Yeah, anywhere.
Children watching, whatever.
So we have the movie starting off as a professor, AK / monk looking dude, who's kind of chiseling away at this archaeological ancient crypt for some reason that we never really get explained to why these guys are coming back. They're just coming back. But they're kind of living dead corpses that come and they wreak havoc on everybody in the mansion. And in really gruesome ways. I first of all just want to talk about the makeup in this film.
Paper mache and maggots?
Yes. Paper mache and maggot zombie faces. They look like they were bought from the 5 and Dime store around the corner. But, I appreciate that. And they kind of look like monkeys. I don't know. They're weird looking. And they just kind of wear monk clothes and like potato sacks. And apparently they're scary. But so these guys kind of get woken up out of their slumber or whatever. And they just start wreaking havoc right away. And they can't die unless they get their heads blown off, I appreciate that. I also appreciate the fact that they're slow-moving zombies. And I appreciate the fact that they rip guts out and eat them. So they're carnivorous zombies, right, Mr. Xander Kane?
Oh, yeah, they go for it. And they like to use whatever things are around, like, i.e. the glass in the window to peel a face off or... there's all sorts of cool, like, environmental assistance to the kills that I appreciate.
Right. So, we start off with, like, I don't know, there's a few couples in the movie, and they like to fuck, like I said. That's their go-to. Hey, let's warm the place up and set the atmosphere with a nice romp. That's kind of like
get those body temps up.
That's right. And so this professor woke up the zombies, and they attacked him right away. So they're kind of broke out of their tomb, and guys taking pictures of his chick outside of the mansion and the garden, and oh my god, what's that? And they're gonna make some sweet love, and he grabs on her ankle, which she sells the whole movie. The broken ankle.
Yes.
And then let's get into let's get into the elephant of the room, guys. Let's really get into the elephant of the room.
We're gonna talk about Michael.
We're gonna talk about Michael.
Oh my god.
We're gonna talk about Michael. That's right. He's you call him a little person, Mr. Xander Kane?
I don't know. Maybe.
Well,
I don't know.
he's played by Italian actor Peter Bark. I did a little research on Mr. Peter Bark, and he was only in a few movies, but he was a little person. He just didn't grow very big. He did go on to direct several homosexual pornographic films in Italy. Who he himself was a homosexual, hence the dainty run in the movie. A little daintily running. But he had a kind of incestuous Oedipus feel. I don't know. How would you explain it, Heather?
Well, I think you explained it really well. What was it, the Freudian concept there of he was Oedipus. In love with his mother. Yeah, he was in love with his mother. And actually, there's a line that I wrote down that I wanted to read on the podcast I just thought. So there's a part where Michael's mother dresses up in some random corset she found hanging around. And she asks her husband, who I assume is her husband or her boyfriend, or I guess it's the boyfriend because I don't think it's Michael's father, how she looks. And he says, "You look just like a little whore, but I like that." Oh. I thought that line was so ridiculous, especially when it was dubbed.
Wow.
And then
I like it.
Favorite part of that scene is that they are making love in the bed. Michael walks in. She's covered. But then she jumps out of bed across the room.
Naked,
and I'm like, I don't understand why you just didn't stay in the bed.
And she doesn't even cover her top half. She just stands there with the blanket covering the bottom half.
She doesn't even cover the bottom half. The only reason why we get the bottom half covered is because of the camera panning. That's it.
She just took the blanket with her. Now he's got to look at naked, not dad guy.
Mama. Right?
Mama, what are you doing?
I just thought that scene I was like, oh, this is the movie we're going to be in for.
There you go. So, that's relatively early on, right?
Like, yeah.
Here we go.
Yep.
So that to me, this relationship kind of steals the movie a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, we got some other shit going on, but I'm like, what's going on with Michael and his mom, right? Like, we got zombies fucking maiming people. Let me just fucking go out and say that the fucking death of the fucking maid is amazing, right? Like, these fucking zombies are so smart, even though they're slow moving like geriatric patients. They somehow, the maid's opening up the window and her hands are out, and she somehow manages to get a nail through her hand. And they just slowly take her head off with a fucking what are those things called, Mr. Xander Kane? I don't know. Yeah, chop the fucking. That's like what the Green Reaper carries around with him.
Scythe.
Scythe.
Yeah, scythe.
Yeah.
Scythe.
So they just slowly take her head off with the scythe, and I'm like, this is good. And then it just kind of rolls out the window, and they're all trying to catch it it's like a bunch of just a bunch of drunks trying to catch a basketball.
It's like the Miata broke and everything's spreading everywhere, and they're trying to catch the brains and everything.
Right? They're all the director's like, try to catch this, And there's some weird supernatural stuff going on through the movie. The lights explode, so this is definitely some cursed grounds, right? But we get into the fact that, you know, everybody's dying off, everybody's getting killed, guts are ripping out. Michael's mom's boyfriend's guts get ripped out in a great way. I kind of feel like that they did use probably some real animal parts in a lot of those, because that liver and that entrails looked really real. That I feel like that's the only way they did it, and it was probably cheaper doing that than doing practical effects, right? So a lot of old school Italian horror films used to do stuff like that. Just go to the fucking slaughter farm, the pig farm, whatever, and let's just pick up fucking what we can pick up. And then, you know, everybody's getting slaughtered, everybody's getting killed in beautiful, awesome, fucking grotesque ways. And then we go back to Michael and his mom, kind of like, hey, you know, Mom, let me feed on your breasts like I used to when I was a little kid. But I didn't know that had to also do with him putting his hand up her dress.
Yeah, like, I guess she's trying to console him. And she's like, oh, it's okay. I know how scared you are. And like, the dubbing is just too funny.
Yeah. It's like,
the lines that he's saying makes it even funnier. Like,
it's like kissing him on the lips, too. Like,
yeah,
oh,
they're
it's
like,
fine. He'll be fine.
Like they're about to go full tongue, and yeah, I think you're 100% right, Android. This movie is about couples having a lot of sex, Michael and his mother's weird relationship, and some zombies showing up. And the professor was like, at the beginning, I'm like, oh my god, what is this dude? This looks like a really bad, like, choose your own adventure film with this guy going through these tomes. But it got like cheesy fun. Like, even the Michael and his mom thing was funny.
Well, yeah, it's great, man. And you know, he gets pissed. They have a little falling out, and he eventually gets killed off by a zombie. And then the mom walks in. You killed my son. And that's a very brutal scene when she kills the other zombie lady. She just bangs her head against the fucking porcelain bathtub, and her brains just kind of ooze out into the bathtub in weird fucking oozy blood, I don't know, gray matter fashion. That just... I really like that scene. It's very visceral, very... I mean, if you're a gore hound, which I am, I love gory movies. That's one for the ages. I loved her platinum white boots and her platinum white mini skirt. It really accentuated the blood, which I thought was a lot of fun. So she just kind of bashes her head and kills her. And then, you know, everybody's getting killed off. You got the last two couples. And then the mom's left, and then Michael comes back. My baby, come and feed off my Chi-Chi. Come and feed off my Chi-Chi like a mama does. So, you know, in typical Italian, come and let me feed you. You know. So like, so she comes in. You know, don't. He's dead. They warn her, but you know, her goddamn, you know, I don't know what it is. Just her fascination with her son. Her unhealthy relationship, accompanied with, you know, her mourning of her son. Michael decides to take a nice tear off of her breasts.
Yep.
Whole new meaning to nip slip, right?
That's right. And that was a great scene. Loved it. And
like, yeah, really, like, how shocking is that when you're watching? Like, are you fucking kidding me right now?
And you see the blood oozing out. I was like, oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
81. Like... Yeah.
Can imagine Heather holding her own breast, being like, what the fuck? You know what I mean?
No, I was like, oh, wow. No, I'm just kidding.
So...
Man, is this Italy now? But...
Yeah. So they, you know, they get pretty much eaten by the rest of the zombies, and that's kind of that. The movie ends, you know? It's not a good ending for anybody in the movie. This movie was released under a plethora of different names: Nights of Terror, Zombie Horror, Zombie the Dead, Zombie 3, Mr. Xander Kane. So we know all about the controversy of the zombie name in Italy.
There's only 3, 4, 5, 9, and 11.
Yeah, so Heather, well, it's so exhausting to explain about the zombie name in Italy and what directors... I'm just going to name this Zombie 4, but it has nothing... What are you doing? Like, well, fuck it. It's Zombie 4. Well, did you get permission to fucking make Zombie 4? No, but fuck it. I'm naming it Zombie 4. So,
they can do whatever they want.
We'll release it in America first. They won't know. They'll catch...
Yeah, it's a very convoluted background, Heather. Like, it all has to do with George Romero and Lucio Fulci and rights, and it's insane.
I've heard a little bit about it from my podcasting partner when we did our zombie episode. So, yeah.
Yeah, so there you have it, man. So, yeah, it was released in December 19... So this was released in 1985 in the United States, which is really weird because it was an 81 movie. So they still had that, like, the 70s hangover fashion in this film. So I can imagine if you're watching this movie in 85, you're like, why is everybody dressed like they're in the 70s? Because they were. So, yeah, man, for my money, I love this movie. It's one of my favorite zombie films. It's a go-to. I know zombie movies are kind of a dime of a dozen these days, but this is a notorious one. For me, this is a solid 4 out of 5. Just on the gore factor alone and the crazy Italian Oedipus fascination with their fucking wanting to fuck their mother's stuff. I give it that. So there you go. I don't know what you guys gave it.
You can go ahead, Heather.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not as high in it as you are, Android.
Oh.
But I will say I did appreciate the Italian... I've seen a couple other Italian films, and I do appreciate their filmmaking and their use of sex in films a lot. And I honestly like this whole zombie film thing. I like the fact that they were stuck there. I kind of like that it wasn't really, a happy ending, I guess you could say. So I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5.
There you go. Mr. Xander Kane? Are you there? Did he drop off?
He went to watch more Burial Ground.
No.
He needs to go back and watch that scene again.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, sorry. I accidentally hit mute. Cool.
All right.
Obviously, I've seen this movie a bunch. This is one I throw on if I have people over just hang out, just so they can look up every once in a while and be like, what the fuck are we watching? And I like it because it also takes a lot of stuff from Tombs of the Blind Dead, it seems to me. The Armando Diaz Sorio films. If you've never seen the Tombs of the Blind Dead trilogy, they're all great, in my opinion. But the zombies look very similar as far as like having like the big old monk's coat or, monk's garb on and whatnot. And they're slow and kind of rotting. So they look a little similar to that. And I love those series. But yeah, and I got to give it up for all the gore in this thing is awesome. Awesome gore. If you're a gore hound, I think this one's like great for you. I don't, not too many of these Italian zombie films that aren't done by Fulci are worth a watch a lot of the times. But this one is 100%.
Right.
So for me, I'm up there high. Probably, I don't know. Fuck it. I'm going 4 out of 5. I think it's worthy.
Right.
I think it's worthy.
Any shining points for you, Heather? Like any parts in it that just kind of jumped out to you that you'll remember?
Well, I need to find a man that's going to tell me I look like a little whore, but that he likes that. That's my new. So I don't know, Sander, if you're willing to do that, maybe we can meet up.
Just stick that on your Tinder profile on the side. This is really what I'm looking for.
Swipes after that. I just honestly, I what stood out to me was the amount of sex in it. And I thought the zombies for, yet again, 1981 practical effects were pretty cool.
Yeah. There you go. All right, guys. Oh, up next, great reviews, by the way, guys. I love that movie. And Heather, I'm very, very satisfied that you got to see Burial Ground, and you will never forget it. And for your fucking horror street cred, if anybody asks you, have you ever seen Burial Ground?
They wanted to see something different, but something different saw them first. The hills have eyes.
Mister, don't take your family back in that area. The silver has been gone for 40 years now. Besides, there's nothing back in there but animals.
We're lost. The old creep told you not to get off the road.
What began as a vacation ended as a nightmare.
Be hell to pay now.
She thought she knew what the world was all about, but nothing prepared her for this. The hills have eyes.
Oh, you going with my baby?
Yeah, that away, bitch.
A mother fighting for her child loses it in the worst possible way.
I hit him with a tire iron and I split his face wide open. That was a bad mistake. I come back for you later, Curly. Why are you doing this?
The story of an American family who lost everything except the will to survive. Murdered, raped, burned, but not beaten. The hills have eyes. The story of one family's refusal to die.
I'm gonna get those animals.
The hills have eyes. A night of terror. A day of vengeance where no one was spared. No one.
Kill the babe! Kill me!
They fought back. Anything was a weapon. The family dog to the family car.
It's working!
The Hills Have Eyes. The most shocking, terrifying film you will ever see by Wes Craven, writer and director of The Last House on the Left. The Hills Have Eyes. The lucky ones died first.
All right, guys, that was the trailer for 1977's Wes Craven's The Hills Have Eyes. Mr. Xander Kane, let it rip.
All right. Yeah, obviously, this one pops up on everybody's radar because, it was written and directed by Mr. Wes Craven. And we all love Mr. Wes Craven. And this precursing some of the stuff that a lot of people know him for nowadays. Sometimes this gets overshadowed, I think, in Craven's repertoire, as it were. But the plot's not anything crazy or in depth or anything like that. It's we follow this family. They're driving from somewhere in the Midwest to LA. So they're driving cross country, and there's some parents, and they have their kids, and there's dogs and babies and all that jazz there. And of course, they stop along a little fueling station to meet this dude Fred. And my dog's losing her mind right now. So,
sorry. Does she smell? Is Mars outside or fucking?
I hope so. Yeah, she would.
Jupiter or whatever his name is. I don't remember.
Oh, does your dog have a boyfriend?
No, she does not.
I call it Mars because that was one of the bad guys in The Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about a dog that was outside. Maybe you guys knew about.
No.
Fine.
I was referring to the bad guys.
You were saying that the hillbillies were coming to get him. Okay.
Yeah, Mars or Pluto, one of them guys,
Right.
So, Fred is kind of this crazy loon. He's kind of like Crazy Ralph from Friday the 13th. He's just spouting off random shit. And he's telling them to stay on the main road and basically get the hell out of town. Then his truck blows up and they're like, let's get the fuck out of here. So they take off. And of course, this wouldn't be a horror movie if they didn't break down, right? Mm-hmm. So they break down. And of course you see there's some cool clips of you could see somebody's watching them, but you don't really see them. You just hear this is actually one of my favorite things in the movie is they do this really quiet dialogue in the background where you can barely hear them making noises and they're saying stuff. And it's just effectively creepy as hell throughout the entire movie. But it starts here when they're watching them, from afar, trying to figure out, what they're going to do to them. So obviously these people are inbreds. And later on, we find out that Fred had a wife that's no longer with him. They had 2 kids. The first kid was normal. The second kid was some sort of mutant. What do you say? It was 20 pounds, covered in hair from head to toe.
He was bigger than me by the time he was 10.
Yeah, and so, old Fred gets lit one night and takes the kid out, and what did he say? He hit him with a tire iron or something he hit him with something over the head and then dropped him off in the desert and said he wouldn't survive a couple hours out there in the heat and whatnot. So he basically left him to die. And lo and behold, now we have these backwoods or back desert inbred people living out there that we never actually find out which one was his son, do we? Or we just assume it was Mars?
I assume it was Mars.
Because Mars attacks him later, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would make sense.
I assume it's Mars. Mr. Xander Kane, you okay? Is your dog having epileptic fit?
Yeah, the dog.
She's acting a fool. Chill.
This all stays on the podcast, either. By the way, just
awesome.
You know.
Do you have burial ground on? Maybe she's getting upset about the zombies.
Maybe she's jealous about Michael. I don't know.
Maybe.
I want to feed on some breast sisters.
Yeah, but shit. Now I forgot where I was.
Oh well.
Yeah. So
might
Mars.
be his dad.
Yeah. So the whole movie just plays out, and it's basically kind of the cat and mouse game. Like they eventually break into the RV, and we get this pretty kind of intense scene that I was telling Android earlier, like this whole scene made me super anxious when they're in the RV and the baby's like out crying, and the two guys, Michael Berryman and the guy that plays Mars, are in there kind of wreaking havoc, like taunting the women and trying to get the baby. But the whole thing is just like creepy as shit, and you're like, good lord, like I just kind of wanted the whole thing to be over with. Like, let's get out of the damn RV. And they do get to the baby and get out of there, and then there's some dogs that they have, and one of the dogs winds up getting killed, which actually, morbid fact, that actually is a dead dog that they put in the movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Where did they get the dead dog from?
I guess the story is it was found on the interstate, and it was picked up by animal control, whatever, and they just paid the animal control guy to set it up there for him. And then they set it and shot it, and then he took the dog away. I was like, what the fuck?
Because I'm thinking to myself, like, man, they must have like used a lot of tranquilizer on that dog to get his tongue laying out and just laying upside down like that. Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah, that does.
That's definitely a bummer.
Well, at least they didn't kill it themselves.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, the whole movie is just back and forth. Like I said, cat and mouse game. They kill the dog, and then later on, the other dog gets out and kills one of the inbreds, like pushes them off a cliff, and of course that sets off the other guys, and they kind of up the intensity on chasing the others. And then there is a female character that we meet at the very beginning, and then she kind of disappears. Like, she shows up at Fred's place, like, at the very beginning. And her name's Ruby. Yeah, Ruby. She just shows up, and they kind of have, like, a back and forth. And then she's kind of gone, and really only is peppered in the movie throughout until the last 15 minutes. She's plays a more predominant role because she's the one, like, holding on to the baby.
Yeah, she seems kind of like the more saner one of the group. Like,
right.
Even though she's, like, probably maybe inbred or whatever the case may be, she's like, I got to get the fuck out of here. So that's kind of like in the beginning of the movie, she's like, hey, she kind of tells the old man, like, look, I got some shit to give you, fucking take me out of here. And he's like, fuck, I can't trade you. I can't fuck. Because the old man seems to, like, at the beginning of the movie, seems to barter with these guys, you know, and he gives them food. Yeah, leave them alone. And she's like, I got to get the fuck out of here. And he's like, I ain't fucking taking you. Like, fuck you. You're crazy. But,
so she also had empathy. She was the only one with empathy, right?
Yeah.
Because she saves the baby.
Right.
If she hadn't intervened, the baby would be dead. So I think that's the difference. Is she had enough social intelligence that she had some level of empathy, where the other ones did not. There was no empathy.
So I assume that she was a kidnapped normal person, actually. Because if you remember when Fred talks to the oldest father, when the father goes back to find help, he goes to Fred's and he tells him the whole story. And he talks about, like, kidnappers going missing and this and that. So I wonder if Ruby is technically just one that they kidnapped, and she just can't get away from, and that's why she's coming back to Fred. I assume that's what the whole point of all that is.
Quite possibly.
But who knows? But I'm pretty sure that is it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's just a back and forth where they get the baby. They eventually, Mars is the last man standing. Michael Berryman gets eaten by a dog.
What's the dog's name? Killer? I forget the dog's name.
Beast. The dogs were Beauty and Beast, and Beauty was the one that passed away, and then Beast is the one that kicked the one off the mountain and then got Michael Berryman, which is kind of a great scene where Berryman's like eyeing it back and forth. He's like, "Oh, you son of a bitch." He doesn't say "you son of a bitch," but he says something to that effect, like, because he's already like laying on the ground and kind of wiped out.
I don't think Heather. I don't know if you've seen Michael Berryman in many other movies, Heather. Quite possibly.
Probably I have. I just probably wouldn't remember them, like him being in it offhand. But I've seen a lot of horror.
So he's the bald guy, and
yes.
Michael Berryman. He's kind of like he's been in Rob Zombie movies. He's been in a lot of different B movies, and God bless Michael Berryman. He was not blessed with the genetic attributes of a good-looking face.
Well, he was born with 26 birth defects. He has 26 different congenital birth defects.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's very, like, he doesn't have sweat glands. He can't sweat. So actually filming The Hills Have Eyes was very problematic for him and, like, stressful because of the heat.
He was sick a lot of the time,
too.
Yeah,
so they would cool him off out of his, like, immediately after his scenes. Wes Craven said that we would, like, bring, like, cool blankets to lay on him, to cool him down. Like, battling heat stroke in that movie was a struggle for him. But, like, to Craven and those other guys credit for a movie that was, made pretty low budget, and apparently the final explosion at the end almost killed some people. But they actually didn't care about, like, Berryman's well-being. So, like, because a lot of times that shit don't happen. And I, honestly, if you've ever met Michael Berryman, the nicest fucking dude, genuine, just nice as can be. He is super awesome, super sweet.
Yeah, usually people that play the creepiest villains are.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta watch him on the Cursed Films. They interviewed him regarding The Crow.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah. So he played the skeleton cowboy guy or whatever. So he's a sweetheart, man, and I mean, he's just one of those. He made his whatever disability he has. He made it work for him in the movies. Smart as shit, sweet fucking guy, like you said.
Yeah, I do. I like the scene with him talking back and forth to the guy on the walkie-talkies about eating the baby.
Mm-hmm.
And the other dude's like, can I eat them toes? And the dude puts his own foot in his mouth, and Michael Berryman's like flinging this baby around in the air.
What were they referring the baby to in the movie? Not the veal.
It was like some kind of sweet meat that they were talking about.
Yeah.
It was like a delicacy.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't veal. It was something else. But
not to mention the the other scene in the camper where they were eating. He snags the bird and drinks its blood.
Yeah. It's okay. Go ahead and continue. Sorry, Bill.
Oh no, you're good. So yeah, we're kind of at the end of the movie. Yeah, I skipped over a lot of stuff, but that's okay. A lot of people have seen this flick, so it's not a huge deal. But eventually, Ruby does have a kind of change. That empathy that you were mentioning.
I think she kind of just stands up for herself.
Yeah,
I don't think she wants to be involved with any of this stuff at all, and she just finally figures, fuck it.
Yeah, well, at the end she realizes that there's only one guy left, which is Mars, is the last of them alive, and so she just kind of finds her opportunity to take out, because obviously, as we found out earlier, Ruby doesn't want to be there; she wants to escape. So she has this one normal guy that's trying to kill Mars. And the way she reacts, she finds a fucking rattlesnake and scoops it up and throws it on the back of Mars's neck. And it gets him. And then the other guy, is able to turn the tables and stab her to death. And you just kind of hear the baby crying, and and then the screen flashes to red, and that's the end. You don't really get any.
Over. Yeah.
You don't really get any official good news. You assume it all goes well, but I mean, who knows? Is there another one out there we don't know about?
Yeah.
Which obviously there is, because there's a sequel and a third one.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you about the high points of this film. It is your typical horror film, and my high points in the movie. You know, the warning, hey, don't go out there. You know, you got that whole aesthetic of it. You know, don't go out there. You're gonna just stay on the main road. Don't be fucking around. So you got the dad who's a cop. And he is like, yeah, fuck them. I'm not going to do what they say. I'm going to take a shortcut to California, whatever the case may be. The guy wrecks the car, you know. But, you know, one of the high points in the film for me was obviously, as much as we don't, and I know Mr. Xander, we talked to Heather about this before. She was cool with this, but man, that whole fucking crazy home invasion, RV invasion rape scene was
it's
really
intense.
It's very intense and puts you on the edge of your seat. And I mean, I'm not saying
it doesn't last crazy long though. I think you spend so much time in that RV at that particular scene. Like I was telling you, it keeps you anxious, and you're just waiting for it to get worse and to get worse and to get worse. Like you just know it's coming.
It certainly does. The death of the father was really, really fucking it kind of hit me, you know, because they burn him alive, and not only that, it's like they take the alpha out right away, right? So like typical, like, you know, war, you know, I don't know, art of war type of thing, you know, let's take the alpha out right away,
right?
And then, you know, they kind of isolate them in a weird way. Unfortunately, the dog died, so that sucked. But it's very spooky, like you said, as the sun's going down, and you know, it's getting darker. They're getting a little bit more isolated, and that sucks. I love the aspect that the animals, especially the dog, was a big. He had a good part in the movie, and he was also a hero of the movie.
Yeah.
You know, one of the creepier aspects for me was how they used their dead mom as a fucking, like, quote unquote fucking trap.
Right.
That was really fucking creepy on me. I don't know what it was, but it's like, man, could you imagine what it would take to just put your dead mom in a fucking lawn chair just to lure a dude in?
Yeah.
And I liked how they fucking got Mars, you know, with the whole car thing, and you know, everything blew up.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
That was great, man. That was fucking really cool, man. Really inventive as far as that is concerned. And obviously the cat and mouse game with Pluto or whatever the guy is.
Pluto.
Yeah, and the father of the little baby. So yeah, man, I and this is really weird, and we talked about our horror cred, Heather, me and Xander, that we had never seen this movie before. And we've seen everything.
And forgot Dee Wallace was in it.
Yeah. So, I don't know about you, Heather. Have you seen this?
Well, I've seen the remake.
Right.
But I didn't see the original.
Yeah, I seen the remake I saw it in theaters.
Yeah, I saw it probably in theaters too. And I found that the 70s films always have that grindhouse feel to it, right? No matter what it is. And that RV scene is so well done. It's so intense. It's like you're going up this steep hill for a roller coaster, and it's not super long. You're right. It doesn't last that long, but the intensity of it is there. And I thought it was very interesting for the rape scene what the young lady was wearing. She was wearing a very like juvenile pajamas, and I'm pretty sure that was done purposely to add to the intensity. And the baby's beside her, and there's chaos. Like very, very, very well filmed. Very 70-ish. Like it kind of reminded me of Spit on Your Grave 70-ish, Last House on the Left 70-ish. Just that feel of it. Yeah, and then just the makeup being so simplistic and the back and forth. I found there was more back and forth here than The Hills Have Eyes, the remake. I feel like The Hills Have Eyes remake was just a continuous assault. Here I felt like there was more back and forth between the camps, which I enjoyed a little bit more. And I love the fact that dogs were in it because I love dogs. So that was just a win-win. And I don't like seeing a dead dog. And I thought they did pretty good with that fake baby at times. And then the real baby was there. Like the transition was decent enough that you're glad it was a fake baby at points because
God.
thrown around the fucking trailer.
Yeah, you're like fucking throwing it on a fucking park bench, like, here's the baby.
Oh my God. Like, even when they're holding it up at their campfire and they're like shaking it and shit. Oh my God. But yeah, and even like at the beginning where he's trying to warn them, like, don't go down that road, and typical, I'm going down this road no matter what. Like, it's just, there's so many tropes on it in that movie that we've seen later on. It's nice to see where they began. I feel like that movie set the stage for a lot of movies. Like, I don't think we would have Wrong Turn if it was for The Hills Have Eyes.
Absolutely.
Sure. So I think watching where it began was really great for me. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Sure.
So this came out for Craven was after Last House on the Left. So,
and you can kind of tell.
Right. So, and you knew, like, if you've seen the original House on the Left, it also was very intense at times. And I think there was an expectation when The Hills Have Eyes was made that was like, hey, we need that intensity level at least somewhere in this movie. And they definitely nailed it in the RV.
Yep.
And one of the things a lot of people, I was reading some articles about this movie because it's a notorious film. It's in the echelon of horror. It's up there, right? This
originally rated X.
Yeah, this is a must watch. And Wes Craven, after doing The Last House on the Left, tried to go mainstream, tried to do TV movies, commercials, TV shows, different things like that. And it was like, this motherfucker was made out of necessity for him. And you can kind of feel it in the movie, like, I'm going to make this movie and it's going to be intense. It's going to be fucked up. And let me tell you, I mean, obviously this is also kind of based off of a true story. Obviously not in America, but, way back in the day in Scotland, there were some fucking crazy I guess, Scottish hillbillies that lived in a cave somewhere and were accosting travelers, on their, as they were traveling through their town and robbing them of their shit, eating them, raping them, doing all that. So this is kind of a weird true story. And, I know I talked to Xander last night about it, and he was, kind of mentioned the aspect of, this part kind of gave me a little bit of anxiety. And it's like, I felt that too watching it. I'm like, all right, so.
Which doesn't happen often, to be clear. It's like,
yes.
It doesn't happen that often.
Yeah, you're talking about guys, Heather, me and Xander have like seen everything under the sun, and we're very jaded and very like, when it comes to horror movies, we're just very like, all right, cool, that was a good one. All right, next, it's like, but like this one definitely, like you said, it kind of did that to me as well. With a little personal story, I'm sitting in the living room, in my living room watching it, and my wife, I think she kind of fell asleep in her bedroom, and I'm watching it probably about 9:00 at night. The boys are in their bedroom playing video games, so I'm watching it by myself. And we've talked about it on It's Not Horror, and we joke around about it a lot. And I'm thinking to myself, fuck, this kind of looks like my backyard. This looks like where I live, right?
Yeah,
like
it kind of does, actually.
This looks like where I live. I mean, and it's the Southwest, right? So I'm in New Mexico, and so you got the Southwest desert from New Mexico all the way to because this movie was filmed in the Mojave Desert and in I think Eastern California, but you got just desert straight, unless you from New Mexico to fucking through Arizona all the way to California, it's straight desert. So this is definitely the landscape of where I live, and it's the Southwest. And so, funny story, after I watched this movie, which I completely loved, by the way, I go in the backyard to bring my dogs in, which is kind of funny, because we're watching this movie. I was like, hey, come in, get inside, fuckers, and it's like, it's night.
Stay away from Mars.
Yeah, it's okay, so it's nighttime, and I just kind of am standing there, and I'm fucking creeped out. Genuinely creeped out, you guys. And it's at nighttime, and I'm standing in my backyard, the stars as far as you can see, and I'm like, all right, that movie got me. Good job.
Which is like a good feeling, because it doesn't happen often,
right?
And it's incredibly genuine when it's not like something you can kind of fake, right? Like when you feel that way, you're like, good God, like that's good filmmaking. It effectively affected you in a daily mundane activity that you do every single night, and you never thought about it, until you watch that movie and you went outside Guard Dogs. You're just like, God damn.
Son of a bitch. Wes Craven got from the grave. So, what'd you think of it, Heather?
Oh, this movie was epic. Like, this to me is a top horror movie that you have to watch. Like, I think there's certain movies in, the horror movie realm that if you say that you're a horror movie fan, you have to watch it. And this falls into that. Are we giving ratings yet?
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
I give it a 5 out of 5.
Boom.
I think it's a historical piece of history when it comes to horror. I think it's an incredibly well done film for the 70s. I think it's, one of Wes Craven's very decent piece of work. I really like Wes Craven. I think this is a fucking phenomenal film. And yeah, it's just a wild ride. And I like, when I say grungy, I just, the 70s feel to that movie. It's just, I enjoy it. I enjoy the rawness of it and almost a shock value that they were trying to do at that time. So I get hooked in, and yeah, that's where I stand on it.
There you go. Yeah, it's for me, same. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5. I've never seen this movie. I'm kind of like you, Heather. I've seen the original in the movie theaters. I take that back. The remake. Sorry, I take that back. The remake, and I also take back that I did not see it in the movie theaters. I got a screener from Gregmo, Mr. Xander Kane.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Fucking ages ago.
Yeah, exactly. I got a screen. We'll totally. Yeah. So, anyways, Heather, we have a buddy in Canada, Mr. Gregmo Roberts, who.
Oh, I know Greg. Just kidding.
Do you? No. You got me.
Like,
you got me good. Okay, goddamn.
Anyway.
So,
Xander's dying.
Yeah, Mr. Greg Roberts.
Every Canadian.
Yeah, Mr. Greg Roberts out of
Toronto,
the old Killer Reviews crew. He used to send screeners to. Beautiful. I mean, he's a professional movie reviewer.
Yeah, he does stuff for Toronto International. He's a member of the Toronto International Film Society.
Yeah.
So he's always at TIFF.
Actually.
Yeah, he's always at TIFF, and he gets when he was with Killer Reviews, he'd get press stuff. So.
Yeah, so he sent this to me, and I remember watching it in my kids' room while folding clothes. I think the babies were my 15-year-olds now were toddlers, and I remember folding clothes in their room, watching it on the box TV that had a built-in DVD player. So I remember watching it, and I loving the shit out of this movie. Well, the remake. And, I just never got around to watching the original. And damn, a 5 out of 5 for me. I haven't had a movie creep me out in quite some time. And like you said, Heather, it gave me that 1970s gritty shot on 16 millimeter Texas Chainsaw Massacre, just yucky feeling inside where I'd lose my appetite if I was eating a slice of pizza watching this. That's the feeling that it gave me, and I fucking love this movie. I'm gonna look for it on Blu-ray.
Yeah, there's some good releases out there. Arrow has a really cool release. I think Shout Factory's got it out too.
Even though I want it on a fucking shitty old VHS. I'm just gonna say that.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So 5 out of 5 for me. So Mr. Xander.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna break the trend here of 5s. I mean, this thing is, like y'all said, is pretty epic. And to me, a few things that I really like about it. I love, it's it had that home invasion aspect to it. Is great, but it's also great when you amplify that out in the middle of the desert. You have this little safe space that you think is your RV, but you're really not even safe there. But you don't really have anywhere else to go because you're out in the middle of fucking nowhere. So you're like a constant sitting duck. There's nothing you can do. There's literally nothing you can do except fight, right?
Stand your ground.
Yeah, there's just nothing you can do, and it's just it's just kind of a terrifying position to be in. And one thing that hasn't been mentioned yet is that most of the dialogue is pretty unimportant, but I think one of the great things about The Hills Have Eyes, I think the most important conversations actually happen between the bad guys, right? It's all the little things they say to one another and their interactions with the people that really just kind of amplify the movie. Even in the RV when he's in there with the girl, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna come back for you later," and, just like stuff like that. You're like, "Ah,
Really?"
Yeah, and I think some credit needs to be given to those guys for their performances. I mean, they were great. Without them, they're they're just they could have come off cheesy, but getting the right guys in there and doing the right thing, it came out great. So
yeah,
perfect. It's and even though I'm giving it a 5 out of 5, I don't know if it's something I'd revisit very often. Like I like it. Like once may be enough for this one, for at least for me. But I'm not. You can never get that first experience back, right? The first time you watch a movie, you can only do that one time. Like you can never watch it your first time again. And I would like to just keep it where it sits. It was great to watch something so far along in my love of horror movies. It was great to watch something that I hadn't seen. And honestly, I enjoyed the remake as well, but like I feel like it didn't really need to be remade, like at all. Like it's damn near perfect as it stands in '77. But that's the Hollywood machine.
Yeah, and the only way you could probably capture that feeling of rewatching it again is if you watched it with a group of people, or maybe a couple of people who haven't seen it before, right? So like you could do that. Like I could see myself watching this with my daughter and my wife again, right? Like I have. Same thing with Suspiria, right? Like me, my wife, and my daughter watched the Suspiria remake together. But I'm like, you motherfuckers haven't fucking seen the original yet. They're like, we love this. This was great. It's beautiful. And I'm like, you got to watch the original. It's.
Yeah, I will. I love the Suspiria remake as well. To me, one of the most gruesome scenes in any flick ever that I just absolutely adore. Yeah. The whole dancing scene.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to spoil it for Heather if she hasn't seen it yet. But
have you seen any of the Suspiria movies, Heather?
I've seen the original.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. The remake is really good.
It's
great. I enjoyed the original. It's not a film that I, yet again, would watch again, but I thought it was very, very well done. The music in it and the filming, it's just breathtaking.
Absolutely. Yeah,
right?
It's great. Yeah.
But it is a little
slow
for my liking.
Yeah.
But it's not a bad movie. Just because something is slow doesn't make it bad, right? I think it also depends the frame of mind you're in when you watch certain films. Like
absolutely,
there's certain films that you need to be like
correct.
Focused.
And and before we started recording, as I was talking about things with length, being too long, I got to be in my right mindset. But also genres is the same way. Like if I want to sit down and watch a giallo, I got to be in the mood to sit down and watch a giallo. Otherwise, I'm gonna maybe not like it as much as it's worth. It might be much better than I think about it if I watch it at the wrong time. So I'm very particular and try to be cognizant of that always. But sometimes it doesn't work out.
Exactly. I mean, you can. I think we've picked movies for our show, Xander, where I'm like, man, I'm not in the mood for this right now. I'm gonna probably try to watch this later.
Yeah, I do that all the time, and that's that's kind of the kicker when we do pick stuff and it's time to record. Like, damn, hope I'm in the mood. Just get it where you can.
Of course, we're always in the mood for Night Killer.
That's right.
Jesus Christ, Heather, that's a 1 for you.
Night Killer.
Oh,
is it ever been on Android Vision?
No,
but it will be.
It will be.
I know what it is.
It will be. Night Killer will be on Android Vision for sure, and Mad Foxes. So fuck Nudie. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Oh, one other random thought. So I didn't look into this. I don't know if it's. Do you think the Madman Mars from Mad Men is named after Mars from?
I wondered about that.
Hills Have Eyes.
I wondered.
It has to be, dude.
Right? Otherwise, it's too. Because you're talking what? 5 years later, I guess is what year was Madman?
The thing about with Madman, have you ever seen Madman, Heather?
I sure have.
Okay, so that actually was supposed to be off of Cropsey, the
Burning.
The Burning, but Cropsey was an urban legend to East Coast kids or whatever, that whole Cropsey thing. And when they made Madman, it was supposed to kind of be loosely based on Cropsey. But I think around the same time or around that time is when The Burning came out. They're like, fuck, we got to switch it. So I think they switched it over to Madman Mars. Hence, kind of like the split down his face, like Mars in this movie too. So you probably put 2 and 2 together there, man. I don't deny that.
Yeah. That was just a random thought I had as I was watching it. I was like,
Absolutely. So, Miss Heather, where
Mr.
where can we find you?
Well, you can find me with Android and Venom and Nudie and Scott. I almost forgot Scott. Can you imagine? That's my podcasting partner for my other podcast. On It's Not Horror Okay, which is currently on the Horrorphilia Network. And my podcast, The Friday Nightmares, which is not a serious podcast at all, as Android pointed out earlier, is available on the Legion Network under Kill the Cast. But thank you so much, gentlemen, for having me on here. I had such a blast. And
thank you for coming.
You know, I can come back sometime.
Oh, we'd love to have you.
Oh, I'd love to have you.
This went well, so.
Yes.
Yay!
It went great.
Well, we don't have to accidentally lose this episode, so I think.
Be like, oh, Heather's so weird. We don't know what happened to it.
It's nice to have. I talked to Dave, and it's nice to have some estrogen in the room, so to speak. And it's always just kind of him and I, which is fine, but it's nice to have a fresh perspective and kind of throw something different into the mix,
Yeah, absolutely. And I felt pretty special that you asked me, Android. Like, a lot of ladies and a lot of people, so you must think I'm pretty cool, or you just thought I would say yes. Either way, I'm willing to take it.
I know a lot of ladies, but you're one of the few that I actually respect.
Oh, Android. And I'm also kind of inappropriate, so I'll pull out pretty awesome lines like I did for Burial Grounds as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what I like about you. I know you take it seriously, and that's the thing. I mean, I could ask a million, and I'm sure Xander's the same. We could ask a million people, but we always want people who take the genre seriously and really, who's gonna be like, yeah, I watched the fucking movies, instead of somebody who, look, we know when somebody Wikipedias or Googles or whatever,
yeah.
Well, I mean, we would.
There's a way that you can talk about it, right? In these 3 movies, I don't know how you can Wikipedia any of them, even Burial Ground, and even with how simplistic that plot is. Like, you kind of have to watch it to really, appreciate the sexy times and the zombies. Like,
yes,
for sure.
Yes, I love the Italians, and I love
stallions.
Their stallions. This is true. Yeah. I love their respect for the breasts, and
huge respect for the breasts.
Yes, but not so much the respect for the Oedipus.
Yeah. Hard pass on the Oedipus.
Yeah,
Hard pass on that. There's definitely several Italian films, and Mr. Xander, we're gonna have to talk about another couple more that do. I think Blue Omega. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, we did on the show, didn't we?
No, did we?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, well, there you go, Heather. We do so many.
How many episodes are you guys up to now?
70 some.
I gotta go back to your back catalog.
We have. I don't know where all the freaking shows are. However, we do have I have a letterbox list of all the movies that we've done. And I think there's like over 90 on there right now.
Could you?
I'm going to have to follow you on Letterboxd, as I am also on Letterboxd.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Letterboxd, I wouldn't remember shit.
I know, Letterboxd is a savior. I heard you saying that in the last episode.
Yeah,
and I'm yeah, Xander knows what's going down.
Yeah, I'm a pro member.
Xander Kane on Letterboxd. I don't have one because I'm really pissed and I told Xander this.
True, you have one. You just don't know the.
You have a notebook. I bet. Do you keep getting kicked off of Letterboxd too, Android? I'm just kidding.
I'm being a good boy. Well, I did get kicked off of one of my other Facebook, but I meant to. So that was good.
Went down fighting. That's all that matters.
That's right. All right, guys. So you guys know where to find me and Xander. We'll play this after the show, and we know where to find Miss Heather. And do you have an Instagram, Heather, where they could follow you on?
Yeah, I guess you could follow me at Heather Powell Instagram. I post some horror stuff, but a lot of pictures of my dog and food I like to order.
Oh, nice.
So, hook me up if you want to look at some food.
I post pictures of my dog all the time, too. So
don't worry. I'll be stalking you after this. Don't worry.
Oh, yeah, I have my first stalker.
All right, guys. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Thank you so much, Heather, for being with us tonight. We really appreciate it. You have graced us with your awesome presence. And I couldn't be more thankful to you. I really appreciate that. Seriously, from the bottom of my heart. Yeah, so. All right, guys, we'll see you next time, and listen to the end of the show where you can find me and Xander. We'll talk to you guys next time.
Bye.
Later.
Good night!
You've been listening to the Cemetery Gates podcast, featuring Android Virus and Xander Kane. Follow us on Twitter at Android Virus, at Xander_Kane, and at Cemetery Gates 66.